racing from Louisville, Kentucky. And wait till you see what happens to the grave digger. It's all coming up right here on Tuff Trax.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas with Army Armstrong, and welcome to Tuff Trax. Today, the TNT Monster Trucks run on one of the most unique courses that they'll compete on all year. It's at Louisville Motor Speedway. And Army, it's a figure-8 course.
It's a figure-8 course, but more than that, Scott, it's a long course for these monster trucks who are used to running on 400 feet indoor tracks. They're going a full half-mile today. They're going to have to make left turns, right turns. They're going to run the inside of the track, the outside of the track, and the figure-8 part of it, there's 30 cars they're going to have to jump over.
They're running for more than just the first place check this week on Tuff Trax. A brand new feature is the silver flag. That's what we want to talk about, kind of like a championship belt. Each week, the winner will take the silver flag to our next edition of Tuff Trax. This is week number 1, so we're going to start with the national point leader, and Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger will be carrying the silver flag the first time around. I know the guys really are going to try and take that flag off the back of your truck.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, but they're going to have to take it because I'm not going to give it up that easy. They're going to have to work for the flag, which that's what all of us are doing every week now. We're looking forward to fighting, battling out for this flag. But the course out here is kind of tricky. You know, there's left and right-hand turns. There's an inside and outside, and you can get ahead of a guy on these turns. They're so wide, the outside lane, and you'll think that you're going to really get away from the guy, and you let up when you fall back into the inside lane, and you can lose the race because it's really a tricky track. But being a long course, there's a lot of guys that can't gear the trucks up. You know, we've got quick change gearboxes in a few of the trucks out here now, and I've got one of them. And we've got like 6 different gear sets. We can gear up for these long courses and short courses.
In a sport that is known for power, Dennis, handling's going to be big today, isn't it? You've got to get around these corners.
Yeah, well, that's right. We can gear up high and be the fastest truck here, but holding it in that turn is another thing, too. It's not like these, like a race car. You know, these things are big and tall, and there's a limit to turning them over and being able to hold it in that turn.
Last year, Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger were kind of chasing. Now they're chasing you. You're the leader on the Monster Truck Challenge, and that silver thing just gives them something to see every time you come out there.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to hang on to it all I can.
It's going to be great action here on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge, but that's not all here on Tuff Trax, because we've also got the TNT All-American Pulling Series. It's the super modified 4-wheel drive class from the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina, the home of the NBA's Charlotte Hornets. However, this crowd is buzzing about truck pulling because 4 trucks have already made full pulls down this 185-foot track. Now, here's the last driver with a chance to join the pull-off. Carl Staples, Risky Business, Moyock, North Carolina.
Risky Business representing the Chevrolet camp, Scott, and he knows what it's going to take. It's going to take just brute horsepower to get into this pull-off situation. The North Carolina puller definitely capable of doing it. The question is, can he do it right now?
Yeah, he's one of the stars in the sport, Carl Staples. Obviously, everywhere he goes, a top contender. And Risky Business has got to get into a pull-off today because we've got some outstanding competitors here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Wants to do well in the home state, and he's got to get a full pull to even get in the top 4 today because 4 are already in the pull-off.
Yeah, the best he can do if he does not make a full pull is finish 5th, and that's something he does not want to have happen. He wants to get in a pull-off, feels like he can do it, comes out, starts to roll on the horsepower. The Chevrolet working the left side of the track. Scott Douglas, it looks good. Now the slant starts to catch him. The red man flag comes up. Look at that in the sand pile. What a run.
Flat knocked the sand out of there as they love it in North Carolina. So that gives us 5 in the pull-off when we come back to the Charlotte Coliseum a little bit later. But after this break, it's monster truck qualifying round highlights. And Army back to Louisville on that figure-8 course.
Everybody's excited. All the big ones are here. The Jersey Outlaw, Equalizer, Carolina Crusher, they're all going after the Gravedigger.
You look at Churchill Downs and the Twin Spires, but it's thoroughbreds of a different type in just a moment as Louisville Motor Speedway has the monster trucks. Army's hit some of the big ones. You're going to see them all in action. They'll qualify next here on Tuff Trax. Beautiful and historic Churchill Downs, Louisville, Kentucky. That's where Tuff Trax is coming at you from this week with the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. The horsepower, however, is quite a bit different when these monsters hit Louisville Motor Speedway. Army, a packed house out to enjoy the best monster trucks in the world on this figure-8 course.
Well, the people in Louisville, Kentucky are always treated to the best in motorsports at Louisville Motor Speedway. Today, the monster trucks are in town, and like you say, a full house. They're all here to watch this qualifying session. We are too. The reason being, it presents a whole new set of problems for these drivers.
Bennett Clark will be up first. He's in the Clydesdale out of Powder Springs, Georgia. As we've talked about, the unique thing about this course is they have to go all the way around. It's left turns, it's right turns. The jumps are in the middle, and they jump the same set of cars twice. Clark gets out of the chute pretty well.
Clark worked out of the chute. He did brush the wall just a little bit up in the first right-hand turn. Now, Bennett Clark loves to be outdoors. You got to remember, this truck is the longest monster truck in the country, 144.5-inch wheelbase. Being outside on a long track is to his advantage. But the problem he's having right now is suspension problem. Nobody knows how to set the chassis, so the drivers have finished his qualifying session as Clark considerably slower on the second half of the course compared to the first half. He's learned something. He'll get a qualifying time and find out where he's going to stack up in the program. But this kid could be a player before the day's over, Scott.
Looked like he broke after that first set of jumps, but comes back and goes through the cars once again. 48.89 is the time on this course.
Now, you got to remember, these guys are coming from indoors where they've been going 4.5 and 5 seconds. Now they're almost out to a complete minute of hard running.
Boy, and you can tell us the workout. Here we see him going to the wall, Army.
Yeah, when he left the starting line, he came over and he just brushed the wall. Now, you got to remember, they got four-wheel steer. The driver, all of a sudden, is very important as far as coordinating the front wheels and the rear wheels to get them to track each other. Just a little brush with the wall, but believe me, he'll be trying to work that inside of the track the rest of the day.
Louisville, Kentucky is a home to a massive Ford plant that builds Ford Broncos, so you know there's a lot of fans for this guy, John Moore, and the no-problem Ford Bronco from Lafayette, Tennessee.
Moore with this Ford Bronco has been a strong charger this year. He's definitely a contender for the national points. He's going to be the first to qualify out of the inside lane. They're starting on the inside. You'll finish on the outside. Remember that as we go through eliminations. Moore is the first to qualify on the inside. We're going to watch the track and see what it looks like. Looks good, a little bit of a rough bounce. Now he's going to have to go to the outside of the track for the second half of his qualifying. He comes up close to the wall and pulls it down. Now, we're going to look for some ground speed right now. You got to remember, Scott, almost a minute long. They're really starting to work the engine. About this point, I'll guarantee you those engines are generating a whole lot of heat.
Critical point right here. He's got to keep it. Yeah, he's going to just get over the cars and finish the lap.
You know, the drivers are... Okay, now we've got some liquid coming out of the front of Moore. That heat right there, that's the first victim we've had of a heating problem as John Moore losing a lot of liquid and qualifies. Quick time right now to 41.82, and that's not bad at all, Scott.
Excellent time, and if it's just a hose or something like that, he won't have any problem getting back. Now, here's a guy, Army, on Tuff Trax that we've talked about an awful lot. The young superstar maybe coming up in this sport, David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee in the Equalizer.
Now, the Equalizer runs a completely unique chassis setup, and you can see the problems he's going to have. You notice how the truck had a tendency to lean left and right. Is really what I call lollygaggle. The truck runs extremely well straight. It's a whole new ballgame right now. They're going to have to literally tighten the chassis down. This kid normally really attacks the track. Right now, he's just trying to keep it inside the guardrails. Look at this guy. He is having all kind of problems. Engine in the truck located to the rear, below the driver. The horsepower's there. It is just not handling.
He seems to keep very good momentum in the turns, but had a problem coming off the cars. Here he comes again. Doesn't hit him especially hard. It'll be a pretty good lap, but I don't think it's going to get up there with John Moore's lap.
I guarantee you, he and the truck owner, Gary Cook out of Tennessee, they're going to be making some changes. A good run, 43.59, but the 41-second Ford sits on top of this thing right now.
Right now, the national point leader, and the guy a lot of them came to see here at Louisville, Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson out of Chesapeake, Virginia, and Dennis will attack the course. Make no mistake about it.
No mistake at all. He'll work the inside, carrying the silver flag, indicates he's the last winner on the tour. Everybody's going after him. Now, what he's done is he's locked the rear wheel straight. He's not worried about rear steer at all. He's just going to go with the front wheels. Look at this. Oh, what a shot. He is attacking all the way through. Now, can he make the left-hand turn? A little bit of problems right there. He ran over the pylons in the middle of the track. Well, Anderson has a good run going, Scott Douglas. Look at this. Let's see how he's going to finish it up. His approach is so important to the final.
Wow. sensational run as the passenger side door popped open, but he really flat hammered it. Came on strong, Gravedigger, with a sensational run around this figure. Look at that, 39.89, our only sub-40-second lap.
Now, we were worrying if anybody could get under the 40-second barrier. Right there, it's already happening. The people in Louisville are loving every second of it, Scott.
Next up to qualify, there you see him, Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet out of Wadesboro, North Carolina. Gary has been strong all season indoors, and of course, as we move outdoor, we talk to him, not only about outside, but about running the figure eight here in Louisville.
Well, I think going in the turns a little bit too fast might give him a little trouble. The truck might go up on one side, or, you know, something, that type of situation might hurt me.
We'll find out right now, Army, as the Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter get ready. Now, they've got to beat that time in the 39 that Gravedigger just set down with Dennis Anderson.
Well, Porter can definitely do it. Speaking of Anderson, we just received word on that sub-40-second qualifying run that Gravedigger did lose a front drive shaft, so that may hurt him later on. He and the crew are working feverishly trying to get it back together to get into elimination. Speaking of eliminations, Porter's trying to get a good qualifying shot in to get in the top half of the field. It looks awfully good. Now, he started on the outside for his first half of the course. He's going to finish on the inside. I look for an awfully good run here. And he brought out an interesting point, Scott. Even though these tires are real big, they're only running on a little bit of rubber. They're only running on the top of the cleat, and they're actually having handling problems with the vehicles wanting to push them in the corner. A good run for the Carolina Crusher, as usual. He's up in those top points, and that shows why this guy can drive any kind of a course.
There you see it, 41.95. That'll be third fastest for Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. Army, how about all this breakage in qualifying?
Everybody is wondering about this qualifying session. Well, the quick qualifier was the Gravedigger. He has everybody covered by about 2 seconds, but believe me, he's got a whole lot of problems he's trying to solve right now. Dennis Anderson and his crew are trying to put the front drive shaft back in the transfer case. Now remember, the transfer case might be the key word this evening. 2 of the major breakages we had in qualifying were a result of the transfer cases these trucks are using. These are the trucks that have the transfer cases where they can change gear ratios. They thought it would help them on the track. It did help their time, but they broke. Plenty of action in Louisville, Kentucky. We'll be right back.
Louisville Motor Speedway gets ready for side-by-side monster truck eliminations here on Tuff Trax with the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. I'm Scott Douglas with Army Armstrong, and we're going to look at the way they're going to line up. First round, Gravedigger, fast qualifier, gets a bye run. Then it's the Jersey Outlaw and the Barbarian. Some other first-round action, we'll see Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter against Bennett Clark, and then all Chevrolet Showdown and the Clydesdale Equalizer against Thunder Chicken, as we'll see Kid Rarig's truck coming out there. And you can see one of the fast losers will be back in the quarterfinals. And then to round out that first round of competition, it's the No Problem Ford and the Stomper Chevrolet. They'll be at war over that one in Louisville, Kentucky. But first, we're going to look at the bye run of Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger. He got her fixed, Army.
Well, he got her fixed, and that qualifying was so very important to him because the bye run, he's going to make sure that it's right now. So he doesn't have to worry about going out there and breaking or beating anybody. What he's going to do is make sure that this truck is right for the next round of eliminations, and he's not taking it easy. He's not stroking it at all. Anderson comes out, didn't really attack the vehicle. That's a smart move. You know, first place money's not paid till the last race of the day. This is the first one. So Anderson's learning something. The truck looks good. I don't believe the distance of this track is going to hurt Anderson. We were worried about the heat factor, but he and the crew said they've got it figured out. Might just be the case. They're looking awfully good right now. One I'm interested in is the next race coming out. Anderson wraps up his. But the next race could be a war, Scott.
That whole bye run just to see how he can get around the turns and get up to shoot. The cars were unimportant to him on that run. Okay, here we go. Side by side, 2 strong Chevrolets. It's the Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter matching up with Bennett Clark's Clydesdale. The long wheelbase Clydesdale going up against the Carolina Crusher. I'm looking forward to this matchup.
Now, the Clydesdale is working the inside. Remember his qualifying section, he started on the outside and got into the wall a little bit. He's gone to the inside. The Carolina Crusher is going to develop a whole lot of ground speed right about now. It's an awfully close race. They're working inside, outside. This could be a good one. Now, Bennett Clark says this is his kind of track. Clark and the Clydesdale hits the jump first, but he's got to go the long way around now, and the Carolina Crusher knows it. Clydesdale a little bit out of shape. Clark's got to settle down, got to use his head, got to work that groove to the high side of the track. Boy, the Crusher sees what? Spinning Clark. Clark's coming after him, Scott. Look at this. Over the finish line, all the way. You got to call that an upset.
They're standing in Louisville. I think the grandstand may come down. They're going nuts. Bennett Clark with a last-minute lunge pulls it off and has beaten Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. Here it is again. Army, look, out of nowhere.
Gary Porter looks like he's back on the throttle. Bennett Clark wouldn't quit. Flies right past him to advance to the next round, and the people in Louisville are going crazy, Scott.
Where's Yogi Berra when you need him? It ain't over till it's over, and that was the case right there. Porter may have thought he had it. Clark got by him, but we may get Gary Porter back if he's one of the fast losers. Next matchup, here's the Thunder Chicken out of Catawissa, Pennsylvania, and Kid Rary. The Thunder Chicken's opponent, David Morris, an equalizer.
Thunder Chicken will work the outside of the track in the first half. He has problems. The transmission not shifting for him. He's staying in low gear. The kid he's going against, the Equalizer, is having his share of problems too. Now remember, qualifying the Equalizer was really out of shape. This kid is not attacking the track. The truck looks a little bit better, and I believe as the afternoon goes on, the Equalizer is definitely going to be a player for the win. But right now, he kind of got an easy run here. This is a good opportunity for the Equalizer truck. You notice how the truck, Scott, doesn't seem to really want to handle it. Actually push him out towards the outer wall. So the Equalizer's going to advance. Thunder Chicken having some transmission problems. Not going to be around in the next round, but this Equalizer truck is going to be tough before this day's over if they can get the handling figured out.
Kind of reminds me of the bye run that Gravedigger had. David Morris, not threatened for the win, got to get a free run around the track. Look at what happened. Now they'll go back and do some more adjusting. Marvin Smith is next out. He brings the Stomper Chevrolet out of Arnold, Missouri, up against the no-problem Ford Bronco and John Moore. Earlier, Army Armstrong was able to talk with Marvin Smith about the adjustments that have to be made on this long course.
Monster trucks normally run on a 300-foot course, a whole different breed of animal tonight. They're going a full half mile. Marvin Smith, you'll be driving the Stomper truck. What changes do you make for this length of a track?
What I've got, Army, is I've got a series of gearboxes. I've got a main gearbox with a quick change box in front of it. What I've done is I've gone 30 over 1-to-1. Hopefully this will be the right combination for this track. This is probably the longest track we'll run all year long. But what I'm trying to do is stay in my power range and still not overwork the engine.
Okay, now, what is your power range? You're running a big block supercharged engine on alcohol. What do you like to run that engine at? What RPM?
What I'm doing is I run a big block. I run it on carburetor gas. I like to keep mine working around between 4 and 5,500. That's a good power range right there. You get over that, you're straining it just a little bit, especially this long of a track. If you're on a shorter track, you like to take it up between 5 and 7,000. But this long of a track, you like to work between 45 and 55, somewhere in the area like that.
There you get the insight from Marvin Smith. Starvin' Marvin out of Arnold, Missouri. This is what they love, Army, that Ford-Chevy matchup. And here you have it with two dandies, the Stomper Chevrolet and the no-problem Ford.
Well, the classic battle's going on right now. Marvin Smith jumps out the Chevrolet on the inside of the track, but John Moore sets right on his left hip. Smith has a little bit of a problem getting lined up. Moore starting to come back on the inside of the track. The Ford people are starting to stand up. Louisville, Kentucky, the home of the Bronco. Let's see what's going to happen. Everybody from the Bluegrass is pulling for the inside truck right now. Marvin Smith's not going to let him have it. He's trying to work him on the outside. It's going to be a Donnybrook when they hit that finish line. Scott, watch the Chevrolet try to come back on the outside. Oh, you talk about close racing. A half mile, they finished about a foot apart.
Yeah, in a city that's used to having things called by a head and a neck, that was by a wheel. One wheel, and no problem. John Moore, the Ford Bronco out of Lafayette, Tennessee, dispatches the Chevrolet. Once again, Stomper may or may not be back as a fast loser. That looked like a pretty good run. Here we see the replay.
Yeah, the run was awfully good. You got to remember, these guys go against each other almost every week around the country. They knew what the other one was going to do. That was just some good old-time racing. Speaking of old-time racing, in this drawing, we got Ford going against Ford.
Jim Miller, the Barbarian Ford out of Nokomis, Illinois, against the Jersey Outlaw Ford. Mike Wine, Browns Mills, New Jersey, on the back of the Jersey Outlaw. It's got one of those kind of like Ghostbuster signs, you know, the slash sign, but it says, "Friends don't let friends drive Chevys."
Well, I tell you what, the Outlaw Ford, a super start on the starting line. He put a gate job, drag racing terminology, on the Barbarian. Mike Wine's looking awfully good. Now, Wine's an interesting individual. This is his first year on tour with us. The truck normally was driven by Nick Rossi, the owner and builder of the truck. Rossi has stepped down to let Mike Wine come in and do the driving, and this kid's doing a real good job for him. He jumped out in the lead. He stayed there the whole way. The Barbarian is going to have to really work if he's going to pull this Jersey Outlaw in, but I don't believe that's the case.
The Outlaw really got up high in the turn with no pylons and nobody beside him.
Oh, looky here, Scott. We've got a problem.
The Barbarian's going to get it at the end, I believe. Yes, he did. What a finish.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened to the Jersey Outlaw.
Wow. All of a sudden, the Outlaw seemed to shut down. The Barbarian came out of nowhere, and they came across the finish line together. But your winner will be Jim Miller and the Barbarian. After this break, we're going to take you back indoors, the beautiful new Charlotte Coliseum, for more four-wheel drive truck pulling as Tuff Trax returns in just a minute. One of the country's true sports palaces. This is the beautiful new Charlotte Coliseum, Charlotte, North Carolina. And weights being added to the sled because it's pull-off time in the four-wheel drive modified truck competition.
Well, we got 5 trucks coming back, Scott. We're going to call them Renault Jive 5. And like you say, this arena, of all the facilities we go into, this is the class operation these people have here.
Randy McConnell out in Yellow Fever. Randy out of Anderson, Alabama. Now they've added weight, and of course, he'll try to beat him in the pull-off. There are 5 trucks in the pull-off. Yellow Fever is up first.
What you're going to be looking at is a unique vehicle. The fact that Anderson runs a Chevrolet truck with, get this, a Pontiac engine. That's right. He runs a Pontiac engine. The old aluminum head seems to really make the horsepower they want. He's going to come out, take his shot. He'll stop the sled. Now they'll mark the lead distance, and everybody else is going after him. We had 5 guys going to the pull-off. The first one's through. Now 4 are going after him, Scott.
160.71. That's the distance that they'll try and beat. Randy McConnell lays it down in Yellow Fever out of Anderson, Alabama. Up to go after him. Super thing. Here's Terry Davis, Tappahannock, Virginia.
Terry's one of the strong privateers on this tour. Not a lot of dollar sponsorship involved with this young man, but he makes up for it in his sure determination. We're watching what side of the track they're running. All these guys were bombing out of here a moment ago. Right now, they're really struggling to get down the left side, trying to go on the other side of a 160. Scott, the distance recorded, he goes number 1 with a 163. Do you think that's going to hold?
We'll find out. It takes over the lead at this point, 163. Let's hear from Terry Davis, super thing.
Terry Davis, you're sitting on top of this thing, but coming after you right now is Tony Olstein. Can you hold him off?
I hope so, but I doubt it there, because he's pulling mighty strong with that brand new motor there.
One of the greats in this sport today, the Georgia Rebel Ford, Tony Osteen. He comes your way from West Green, Georgia, has himself a new engine in this truck, Army.
Well, the engine, it's a Ford engine, but I think where the new is in the crank. I think he's running what they call a 180 engine. It's got a unique sound. Now, just listen to it. Sounds more like an Indianapolis-style engine. He really gets that big Ford engine up and screams on it, and it makes some horsepower.
But not enough this time. It looks like he's just a bit short, about 2 feet, 161.69. Let's hear from Tony Osteen and the Georgia Rebel Ford.
Tony, go to the number 2 spot. You got to be tickled with brand new engine combination to be sitting in that position right now.
Yeah, it's going to take a little working out on this short track. I think I put too much tire speed on that time. The motor just got more power than you can ever think of, and I think I just loaded up too much dirt.
Right now, though, he sits second, the Georgia Rebel Ford. Again, that's Tony Osteen out of West Green, Georgia. We've still got 2 more competitors to come in the pull-off. But when we return, it's back to Louisville, Kentucky in the Louisville Motor Speedway for more great action on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. You're looking at David Morris's Equalizer. We're going to be coming back with great action. Quarterfinal round of the Monster Trucks from Louisville Motor Speedway when Tuff Trax continues.
Douglas and Army Armstrong welcome you back to Tuff Trax with the power of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Here's the way things have gone thus far at Louisville Motor Speedway, Louisville, Kentucky. Grave Digger with a bye into the second round, where he'll meet Barbarian, who surprised Jersey Outlaw in their first round matchup.
Now coming back as the second fastest loser is the Jersey Outlaw. This time, though, he'll go up against Clydesdale, who had that dramatic win over Carolina Crusher. Then Equalizer and Thunder Chicken faced off. Equalizer won, but guess who was third fast loser? Thunder Chicken. They'll have a rematch in the quarterfinals. And rounding out our round of 8, No Problem beats Stomper. He will come back against the fast loser. That is Carolina Crusher, and that's a matchup to look forward to. But first, we're going to see the Equalizer and Thunder Chicken rematch as some of the other trucks continue to get ready. We're going to go ahead and come on out right now with the Equalizer and Thunder Chicken.
Well, they're pairing the other trucks up back in the pit area. Well, we're going to have an opportunity to see here. Oh, we've got some liquid coming out of the Thunder Chicken already. The heat's starting to get to him on the starting line, and the Equalizer comes out. Now, you've got to remember, the Equalizer made one run. They had problems in qualifying. He ran Thunder Chicken a moment ago. The truck looked better, but look at this, Scott. He's got the truck figured out now for sure.
He's flat flying. You can see Thunder Chicken is beaten already, and there's stuff pouring out of him. Now, he knows this. David Morris is not going to wear it out on the cars on this run, knowing he's in good shape. But as Thunder Chicken struggles, look at Morris. When he goes around this track right now, he seems so fast. Thunder Chicken hits the cars, and he really doesn't seem to have a whole lot of power. Watch Morris. He's going to come into your screen in a minute because he's flying.
Well, the Thunder Chicken, the problem they have, and everybody knew it going in, he lost second gear in the transmission, so it can only run low and high gear. And David Morris, again, is using this particular run just to get the truck dialed in, and he and the truck owner, Gary Cook, they have figured out the problem. This kid's going to be tough. You mark my words, Scott. I just got a feeling about him today in Louisville.
Yeah, he ran the first 2 turns, and in 3 and 4, he just backed off. He had it won. He saved his equipment because there are bigger fish to fry later today in Louisville when he'll come back in the semifinal round. So our first semifinalist, David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, in the Equalizer. Our next quarterfinal matchup is this truck, the No Problem Ford Bronco, and John Moore out of Lafayette, Tennessee, in what ought to be a dandy against Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter of the Chevrolet from Wadesboro, North Carolina. Earlier tonight, John Moore was having problems with his truck overheating. Army Armstrong talked to him about keeping it cool in Louisville.
Louisville, Kentucky is going to present a whole new set of problems for the monster truck drivers. The reason being the length of the track, the problem being heat. John Moore, how are you going to keep heat out of the No Problem Ford tonight?
Well, I believe we're just going to let it get a little warm and hope we get enough time in between rounds to cool it down.
Okay, now how will you cool it down between the rounds of competition?
Keep it on charge and run the electric fans and the water pumps and circulate water through the motor.
Will you be changing any type of oil in the engine, or will you keep the same oil in it?
No, I believe we're going to run the same oil for at least one night anyway.
Now, the electric fans, the passenger car doesn't have an electric fan. This is a whole new concept, so it's constantly pulling cooler air through the radiator trying to keep it cool. Is that the reason for running the electric fans?
Well, the electric fan is there to keep horsepower from being lost in the motor by driving a fan off of a water pump or something like that. Plus the fact that the fan runs constant speed, so at a lower speed, it will draw more air than a regular fan will. And the fact that we can park the truck and that fan will still continue to cool the motor.
Do you feel the heat will be a factor here this evening?
I'm sure of it. I'm sure it'll be a factor.
It was earlier when a radiator hose split on the No Problem Ford Bronco. It's fixed. He's ready to go against Carolina Crusher. The Chevy Ford matchup, but this one really ought to be nice and tight, Army.
Yeah, Scott, I tell you what, it should be nice and tight, but Gary Porter went to school in the previous round. He's back in this bracket by virtue of being a quick loser. If you'll remember, Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher backpedaled right before the finish line a moment ago. That was a driver error. He is not going to make a mistake again. Meanwhile, John Moore is keeping some pressure on, but Moore is not able to keep up with the Chevrolet as Porter seems to be destined to move into the next round. And Scott, we noticed something else. The clouds are really starting to cloud up on the backstretch right now.
Right now, though, it's Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher getting after it. He hits the trucks in firm control and is going to take the win over the No Problem Ford Bronco.
And you notice he stayed in the throttle all the way through the finish line, Scott, this time.
He definitely did not give him a chance. And, of course, there's no more fast losers coming back if everybody stays together at this point in the competition. He could not afford the kind of mistake that he made in his first round matchup. So the win to Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. He and David Morris, Equalizer, are now in the semifinals. Our next quarterfinal matchup, Gravedigger. Dennis Anderson against the Barbarian Ford and Jim Miller. Gravedigger is obviously the odds-on favorite in this matchup.
Well, he's also the odds-on crowd favorite. It's amazing. The people are so involved with that truck when it comes out. Everybody stands and cheers. But right now, it's head-to-head. And you can see why they like him. Look at that. Immediately jumps out working the inside of the track. And the Barbarian is laying down a good run, but the Gravedigger is just dominating this particular round of elimination, Scott.
Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger, Chesapeake, Virginia, as the rain is now coming down in Louisville, but he is still hitting them hard, and the rain is going to slick this track up for these guys.
It's getting awfully slick out there, but look, the Gravedigger is still throttles up. The Barbarian's after him. You're looking at the best monster truck racing in the world. A little bit of push from the Barbarian. Boy, the people are getting their money's worth now. It's starting to really rain in Louisville, and the Gravedigger with those awesome red lights stays alive.
They could see right through the dark clouds in the rain with those red light flares. Boy, Jim Miller and the Barbarian got a wild ride up in the number 3 turn as the track got slick, almost took him to the wall. Gravedigger comes away, though, with the victory, puts Barbarian away, and so Gravedigger has made it to the Final 4, to the semifinals of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge in Louisville, and Barbarian's going to take her out. Talking about taking her out, everybody heading for shelter as the skies have opened up at Louisville Motor Speedway.
Yeah, get the wife and the kids. We're out of here for a few minutes.
Going to head for some cover right now, but there'll be more great action coming up from Louisville Motor Speedway. Look at it coming down on the Jersey Outlaw. Hey, no problem with windshield wipers, but it's hard to hold her on the track. And, of course, the fans getting soaked, so they're going to go dry off just a little bit. But we're not done by no stretch of the imagination deciding the issue from Louisville, Kentucky and Louisville Motor Speedway. Coming up a little bit later, another quarterfinal matchup, and then on to the Final 4 with the monster trucks from Louisville. But when we come back, it'll be some great action as we go back indoors, not worrying about the rain. It's the finals of the pull-off from Charlotte, North Carolina, and the new Charlotte Coliseum. Four-wheel drive trucks when Tuff Trax continues. Stay right there. It's flat serious time now on Tuff Trax. We'll be getting back to the finals with the semis and the championship coming up in the Monsters in a moment. Now we've got 2 left in the TNT All-American Pulling Series down at Charlotte Coliseum. Super Thing has the lead in the pull-off, 163.19. The Georgia Rebel and Yellow Fever comprise the top 3 right now. But 2 more trucks are going to try to knock Terry Davis off the top rung in Charlotte.
They're going to try to do it by running in the exact same track that Davis ran in. He pulled out a 163. Everybody else is right behind him. The 2 trucks that followed him are about 12 inches shy. Risky Business comes out working the track left side. I don't believe he's going to do it. Terry Davis is going to dodge 1 more bullet. That leaves only 1 to see if he can win this thing. Yeah, the track seems to be going away on that left lane, Scott.
Carl Staples and Risky Business coming up just a little bit short. Terry Davis, Super Thing, still the leader. Here's Army and Carl.
Carl, a 159.36, but you did something different than anybody else. You rolled about 10 feet and then nailed the throttle. Why did you wait that 10 feet?
Army, it felt kind of slick at the start when I made the full pull, and I was thinking maybe I could hook it up better, but it didn't quite work.
So that's the word from Carl Staples, and his run comes up short. 1 more will try to knock Davis and Super Thing off of the podium here at Charlotte, North Carolina. And it is Charlie Lowe, the old Killer 2, up from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Lowe came up a long, long way to get into this final run. Believe me, he is going to give it everything this Mountain Motor Ford can put onto the track. He also goes to the left side. That kind of surprises me. Everybody's staying to the left side. Davis is on top of it, and the Chevrolet, the Ford going after him right now. Scott, he's not going to do it. Chevrolet is going to take the win in Charlotte.
Charlie Lowe, the Killer 2, is short. 156.74 is the distance. Here's Army with your winner, Terry Davis.
Terry, you hung on to win this, rascal. It was a tough one tonight.
Yeah, I was crossed my fingers, and when Tony didn't get me, I thought maybe I'd had a good chance, because Tony was the only one I was really scared of.
The Super Thing and Terry Davis. Here you see the run that did it for him at the new Charlotte Coliseum, and he really laid it down, Army.
God, it was just a good heads-up run. He read the track, he made horsepower, and he's going to the pay window on Monday morning.
And it stands up. There's your finals at Charlotte in the 4-wheel drive truck. Super Thing and Terry Davis, the winner. Georgia Rebel, Tony Osteen, second. Yellow Fever, Risky Business, and Killer 2, the elite at the beautiful new Charlotte Coliseum. Well, we're done with the 4-wheel drive trucks for this week, but there's more monster truck action coming up. We go back to Louisville Motor Speedway for the quarterfinals and the semifinals and the championship. It's all coming up here on Tuff Trax. Well, Army Armstrong is dried off, so is everybody else in Louisville as the sunshine has returned, and we're ready to get back to action on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Let's update you on how we've got to where we're at. In the first round, Clydesdale beat Carolina Crusher and had to face Jersey Outlaw in the quarterfinal round matchup. That's the one that's coming up when we get back to action after the rain delay in Louisville. Beautiful sunshine, and Clydesdale will be on the inside lane. Bennett Clark, the Chevrolet, against Mike Wine, the Jersey Outlaw Ford, and he loves to run against Chevys, Army.
Ford going against the Chevrolet. You got to remember the 144-inch wheelbase on the inside of the track. The Clydesdale loves this kind of track. He proved earlier rounds that he was going to definitely be a contender. However, the Ford has not given up. This rookie driver of the Ford camp out of New Jersey is going to hang tough. Clydesdale goes into the jump first, but the Ford gets the inside. Scott, what does it look like from your angle?
Into turn 3, the inside lane to Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw Ford. He's got the edge, but remember, Army, when they come off the chute, Bennett Clark should have the momentum.
This same scenario was up a little bit earlier, and Clark came back to win. Wine knows that he knows that Chevrolet's going to be coming after him. No, the Ford's going to go to the next round.
Wow, the Jersey Outlaw with a great run. So Bennett Clark and Clydesdale, the long wheelbase, the great momentum at the end, not enough. And the Ford fans are whooping it up at Louisville Motor Speedway as the Jersey Outlaw takes the big victory. So we're down to 4. The semifinals are now coming up. Here's how we got there. The Gravedigger beat Barbarian. Jersey Outlaw knocked off Clydesdale. They'll meet a little later. Equalizer got a couple of easy runs over Thunder Chicken. He's going to have to work for it in the semifinals, though. He'll meet Carolina Crusher. Carolina Crusher, you'll remember, lost in the first round, but came back to beat no problem in the quarterfinals. Army talks with a guy who learned a lot in that first round loss.
Gary Porter is going to be going into the Final Four, basically by the luck of a rule, that being the fact that you were eliminated in competition, but you get back in by virtue of the quick loser rule. Gary, you had a little mental lapse last night that almost cost you. You're awfully lucky to be in this Final Four.
Yes, I'm very lucky. When I was running Clydesdale, when we went into the last turn, I thought he had hit the wall. And so I let out of my truck, and it cost me the race. And luckily, I was the fastest loser and got to come back and won the next round. And I'm going to be facing the EQUALIZER, and I'm going to have to really try to truck real hard to win.
Yeah, this kid with the EQUALIZER, he's really making a name for himself this year. He's going to be tough, and you know you've got to go head-to-head with him. Is there anything you're going to do as a driver to adjust to try to beat this kid?
Well, one thing, I'm not going to let out of my truck like I did with Clydesdale. I'm going to stay in it regardless of what happens to him. And I thought about the race a lot and the track, and I think I got it down pat now.
We will find out because they have just taken the green light. On the outside, Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher. Waitesboro, North Carolina. On the inside, David Morris, the Equalizer from Springfield, Tennessee. The winner goes to the final.
In between each round, they've been tightening the chassis up on this Equalizer. Looks to be working, but he's halfway through. That means he's got to go to the high side for the second half. The Carolina Crusher told us a moment ago what he's going to do. He's going to drill it all the way around. We have got one good monster truck racing going. The lane choice is going to be so important right now because the inside lane's the place to be. But look at the Equalizer. I don't know. From my viewpoint, Scott Douglas, I cannot tell who won that race.
It was so close. We're going to look at it on the videotape as they come off the cars together. Carolina Crusher knows it in front, and there you see it by a half a wheel, a hubcap, if you will. The win is the Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher.
Kind of like the Phoenix. He was down and out, but he's fighting his way back. He's going to the final. The question is, who's he going to be facing in the final? The Gravedigger Chevrolet or the Jersey Outlaw Ford? Everybody's got something to cheer for right now, Scott.
Gravedigger, the first time out defending the new silver flag here on Tuff Trax. Jersey Outlaw would love to put that piece of silver right on the back of that Ford.
Well, and Dennis Anderson is playing hardball. Look at that.
Coming into turn 1 and 2 just explodes, Army.
Working the track. I'm standing here and this kid's coming past us. You wouldn't believe the ground speed they have. Look at this attack. Smooth landing. He'll back on the throttle now. Working around to the left. Dennis Anderson is doing a beautiful job of driving. If he keeps it up, he's going into the final. A little bit of smoke starting to come out of the back of the Gravedigger right now, Scott, but I don't believe it's going to cause a problem. He is going to the final.
And he's looking dominant getting there. Gravedigger, outstanding run, is just whipping the course in Louisville. So the national points leader, Gravedigger, will try to add to that because he's going to match up with a guy who's chasing him in the number 3 spot, Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. It's those two in the finals. Army, it ought to be a great championship run.
Well, the final set on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Louisville, Kentucky is going to be Virginia going against North Carolina. The Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter, had some transmission problem. He is busting his tail trying to get into this final. On the other side of the coin, the Gravedigger had an extremely smooth run. He also had some problems. Both crews working feverishly right now, trying to get to the starting line for the final. It's coming up next.
It's Gravedigger and Carolina Crusher, both battling some mechanical problems. Arnie Armstrong's in the pits with Dennis Anderson trying to get ready for the finals.
Dennis, they're coming after you. Can you hang on the flag?
Yeah, man, we're going to hang in there. What about putting a little bit more fuel to the motor? Because I think it was leaning out. I had a couple of sputters out of it, so we're going to keep it from leaning out, and I think I got it under my hat now.
Okay, now Gary's having problems with heat. Are you having any kind of heating problems with your vehicle?
No, my motor's fine.
So it is the Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson ready to go up against the Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter in the championship at Louisville Motor Speedway. A critical matchup on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge in the points race for 1989. Gravedigger comes in as the national point leader. Equalizer second, but he's gone already from this event. So Carolina Crusher can not only pick up points on Equalizer, he could really make a move on Gravedigger if he can get a win here. As we look through the rest of the top 10, let's note who's sitting in the number 6 spot. The defending national champion, USA 1. He has struggled early on, but USA 1 and Rod Litzow seem to be getting their act together. While this action was going on in Louisville, USA 1 was doing battle at El Paso, Texas, and had a good weekend, although it was kind of scary for him, Army. Things got hairy in El Paso for USA 1.
Yeah, USA 1 trying to march back into the winning form, and look at this qualifying run. In, out, almost over, and Rod Litzow powers that Chevrolet out. What a weekend for this kid.
Then matching up with Nightlife, getting his first points win of 1989 as he comes away with the victory over Nightlife to take it at El Paso.
And believe me, that word traveled back to Louisville awfully quick. USA 1 is on the march. Speaking of on the march is set. The final race of the day in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's going to be a war, Scott.
And they're going crazy at Louisville Motor Speedway because this is the final they really wanted to see. The Gravedigger with the silver flag trying to hold on to it here on Tuff Trax as he matches up with the Carolina Crusher. Both of them come out of the chute well.
They come out just like drag cars. Everybody's upstairs on the RPM. Right now they don't look it, but believe me, it's a close race, side by side. When they get to the next turn, it's going to be the telltale sign. Anderson hits the jump quick, a little bit out of shape. Keep an eye on the Carolina Crusher. He's going to put a move on the inside.
But Gravedigger hits the wall. You can see something broke. The digger has smacked the wall, a steering problem. He could not get around the turn, and you're going to have to stick a fork in the Gravedigger. He's done for this weekend in Louisville. It'll be Gary Porter coming across the cars one more time. He hits the finish line, and the Carolina Crusher wins it in Louisville. Army, there's fire under the Gravedigger.
What happened, Scott? A hydraulic line broke on the steering assembly, getting on the engine. That's where the fire came from. No major problem.
That's it for Gravedigger. He'll finish second. The Carolina Crusher here on Tuff Trax at the Louisville Motor Speedway, the beautiful facility that Andy Vertrees built just a year ago. Always a thrill for TNT Motorsports to be here at the nation's finest short track is the way they build it in Louisville. And here's a guy who's going to finally remember this trip to the Derby City. Gary Porter, as we'll see every week on Tuff Trax, the winner gets the spoils, and there's his spoils, the silver flag. He'll carry it to next week on Tuff Trax.
We're going to be watching him all year long, and like you say, you can follow him on Tuff Trax. Can he hold on to the flag? I don't know. We're going to be finding out, but believe me, this flag is something everybody wants to get.
Each week, the winner will carry that flag, and now Dennis Anderson is going to have to chase it, try and get it back.
Dennis, an awfully costly final run for you, but everybody, you knew they were coming after you. You had to go for it.
Yeah, I did. Well, when I come off those cars there, I was kind of bouncing around a lot. Coming to this turn, I lost my steering pump. It busted a hose on it or something, and I went into the wall. I was going to back off the wall and try to run him down, but I didn't have any steering, so I had to give it up.
Had a little bit of a fire in the back. Was that from some of the fluid getting on the exhaust?
Right. Well, what it done is when I impacted the wall, it pushed fluid out the pump even harder then, and it shot it onto the hot motor, and it went into flames.
Gary, it was a dramatic final. Everybody was working like crazy. What do you got in your left hand here, son? Well, I got a TNT Motorsports flag. I took it from Gravedigger, and they're going to have to come after me from now on. All right, well, that wraps it up from trackside. Back to you, Scott, for the wrap-up of today's show.
Thanks, Army. A great competition at Louisville Motor Speedway in Louisville, Kentucky, with Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher getting the victory. Next week, monster truck action comes your way from Lima, Ohio, and more truck and tractor pulling from Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll see you then right here on Tough Tracks.